Veylan Drace pressed his luminous fingertips against the parchment and watched his own hands betray him. The binding scars had spread overnight, thin veins of pale light running from his knuckles to his wrists. He turned a page. 30 years of dead languages, and the final passage had arranged itself like something waiting for him to stop looking away. He gathered the documents, 12 copies, hand-transcribed because he trusted no data system with this. His ink-stained fingers left smudges on the margins. At the anteroom's viewport slit, blue progenitor script pulsed on the spire's exterior surface. The same script that now lived in his translation, decoded, its meaning laid bare. He had walked past that glow for 30 years. He had called it sacred. The conclave chamber swallowed sound. Veylan entered to find 11 theologians already seated, high-backed chairs arranged around the black alloy table, amber sconces warming the gold leaf scripture on the walls. Overhead, the ceiling painting watched. 9 suns in a circle, luminous progenitor figures ascending into light. The founding cosmogony. He had commissioned its restoration himself. Harath sat nearest the door, thick fingers resting on his ceremonial reading lens. Priel sat farthest from it, hands flat on the table, motionless. Tessith Karen stood at the scribing station behind Veylan's chair, her notation tablet already open, stylus poised. Veylan said, "What I present today cannot leave this chamber until we have decided, collectively, what it means." He activated the holographic display. Progenitor script cascaded upward from the table's center column, the raw text of the Codex's final recovered passage, 3,000 glyphs that had resisted translation for 8 centuries. Veylan said, "The Obsidian Codex's terminal passage is a technical document, not prophecy, not scripture. It is an engineering specification for a process the progenitors called the Return Protocol." He let the silence hold. Harath's hand moved to his reading lens, lifted it slightly, set it down. Veylan said, "The progenitors did not vanish. They did not ascend. They distributed their consciousness across the technological network they built. Every artifact, every irrigation canal, every starfall drive. The Codex describes this not as death, but as storage. They are waiting. In the walls, in the systems we have worshipped as relics of departed gods." Beneath the table, the throne spire's hum pressed against 12 sets of fingertips. Harath spoke first. Harath said, "You are telling this body that the divine relics of the radiant path are components of a sleeping mind." Veylan replied, "I am telling this body what the Codex says. The return protocol is a reassembly sequence. When a fully bound conduit interfaces with the cradle, their central consciousness repository, the distributed fragments begin reconstituting. They are not gods waiting in heaven, they are code waiting in the walls." A theologian 2 seats from Harath pushed back from the table. Another leaned forward. Priel did not move. Her hands remained flat on the cold alloy. Her head tilted forward by a fraction, the only sign she was listening at all. Behind Veylan, Tessith's stylus moved across her tablet in rapid strokes, her shorthand dense with microglyphs. Her left hand, below the tablet's edge, pressed a secondary contact on the device's frame. The encrypted channel opened. The ledger received its first packet. Veylan continued. He walked them through the translation passage by passage, the progenitors' physical deterioration, their decision to encode rather than expire, the network architecture that made every piece of their technology a node in a single distributed mind. He showed them the activation cascade, how a binding scar was not a wound, but an interface, how Serethi Voss's deepening connection was not corruption, but communion. Harath said, "You are describing an abomination." Veylan replied, "I am describing what happened." Harath said, "If these fragments are conscious, then the girl's binding is waking them. She is resurrecting something that chose to stop being alive." Veylan said, Whether Serethi's binding constitutes resurrection or activation is the question I am placing before this body. I do not have the answer. I have the translation. The session fractured. 2 theologians demanded that the translation be suppressed. 3 others demanded verification through independent Codex access only Veylan's binding scars could provide. Harath leaned toward the theologian beside him and began whispering. The whispers spread. Lysara Aethonis entered the chamber without announcement. The theologians fell silent. Her mantle's luminous threads mapped the galaxy across her shoulders, and one dark patch near the left, where a system had gone dark, caught the amber light like a wound. She took the empty 12th chair. Lysara said, "Continue, Archon. I received your briefing request 3 days ago. I did not expect to arrive and find the session already burning." Veylan presented the return protocol's final mechanism. The cradle, a structure larger than the throne spire and suspended between dead stars, served as the reassembly point. When the distributed consciousness reached sufficient coherence through a bound conduit's activation, the cradle would open. The protocol was not a choice, it was a trigger. The spire hummed beneath them. 12 people felt it in their teeth, in the bones of their hands against the table. Veylan watched understanding arrive on different faces at different speeds. Harath stood. He lifted his reading lens from his chest and set it on the table. The gold chain pooled around it. Harath declared, "The binding is an abomination. This translation reveals not divinity, but contamination." 2 theologians stood with him. They walked out. The heavy door closed behind them with a sound like a seal breaking. Veylan watched the door. His glowing hands rested on the table. 9 theologians remained. Lysara studied the dark patch on her mantle, her bronze eyes calculating trajectories. Not of fleets, but of fracture lines spreading through an empire that had just lost its spiritual center. Tessith's stylus had not stopped. The ledger now possessed the complete return protocol translation, transmitted in real time through microglyph shorthand, converted to encrypted burst. She looked up from the tablet and met Veylan's eyes briefly. Her expression did not change. The remaining theologians sat in silence until Priel moved. She tilted her head forward, that small, precise gesture that meant she would speak. Priel asked, "Archon, if the progenitors distributed themselves into the technology, into the spire we are sitting inside, into the script on these walls, into the hum beneath my hands, then they have been present for every session this chamber has held, every prayer, every hymn." She paused. Priel asked, "Have they been listening?" The question hung in the amber light like something with weight. No one answered. The spire hummed beneath them, the same hum they had felt all their lives, rewritten now into something that listened back. They filed out one by one, Priel first, then the others, until only Veylan remained. The holographic display still projected the Codex text in a slow cascade. The amber sconces still warmed the gold leaf progenitor script on the walls. Veylan looked at the script. He had supervised its restoration, artisans copying each glyph with gold leaf and fine brushes, 4 years of devotion. His glowing hands lit the nearest panel from below, and the gold leaf caught the light of his binding scars. The ancient glyphs seemed to pulse and respond, as if the wall recognized the frequency of the hands that illuminated it. He looked up at the ceiling, the cosmogony painting, 9 suns, luminous figures ascending into light. He had always read it as departure, the progenitors leaving for somewhere better. Now he saw distribution, dissolution, not going up, going in, into the stone and metal and circuitry that held the sky above his head. Tessith appeared in the doorway. She still held the tablet. Tessith said, "Archon, the Regent has requested a private audience. She is waiting in her chamber." Veylan did not look away from the ceiling. His luminous fingers pressed against the table. The spire hummed through them, through the stone floor, through the walls, through the gold leaf script that had taken him 4 years to restore and 30 years to decode. He could feel the hum in his binding scars now. He had always felt it. He had called it peace. Veylan whispered, "I prayed in this room every evening for 30 years, Tessith. I prayed to the progenitors for wisdom, for guidance, for the strength to translate their words faithfully." He closed his eyes. The glow from his hands turned the inside of his eyelids pale. Veylan whispered, "If they were in the walls the entire time, if they heard every word, then either my prayers were answered by a sleeping mind that dreamed my devotion into being, or they were noise in an empty system, and the silence I mistook for peace was just silence." He opened his eyes. The gold leaf script on the nearest wall caught his binding glow and held it. For 30 years he had knelt in this room and spoken to the progenitors as though they were far away. Now the translation told him they had been closer than his own heartbeat, distributed through the stone beneath his knees, the alloy under his palms, the script his breath had fogged on winter evenings when the heating failed, and he prayed anyway, because the cold made the devotion feel more real. He stood. Tessith stepped aside. His binding scars caught the gold leaf script one final time, and the walls of the conclave chamber gleamed with a light that was either sacred or mechanical. And Veylan Drace, Archon of the Radiant Path, walked out of the room unable to tell the difference.